Hey guys, it's Silver Snorlax, and I'm back as promised with the results from the experiment I conducted on the Flex Seal cardboard box concept and idea that I mentioned last week. So real quick, just to recap, the idea was if you Flex Seal the cardboard box, you would be more water resistant, maybe a little bit tougher than your standard cardboard box. Wanted to see how a cardboard box that was sealed up with the Flex Seal product and had a little extra additional waterproof caulking along some of the joints and things of that nature would hold up to some of the elements. So the idea was take the box and leave it outside on my deck for a week, let it go through some rather extreme conditions and run through a couple thunderstorms, that sort of deal, and just see how it held up. So to act as a control for that experiment, or just to give us a baseline reading more than anything else, I, at the same time, placed a standard cardboard box outside to run alongside with it, just to see how that would do. And as you might imagine, with a very extreme test like that, it did not hold up so well. As you guys can clearly see, both boxes are a little beat up, and we'll be discussing some of what happened, what occurred during the testing that was conducted. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how the boxes kind of changed a little bit over time. Obviously, this is not as clean cut as what I showed last week. There is some warping along the outside of the box. While the box was outside, it took on a couple of 90-degree days, sat in direct sunlight, and really kind of got beat on quite a bit. It is a black box, so it just absorbed that light and got quite warm. I didn't get a chance to measure how hot it actually got to, but the Flex Seal product itself says it can withstand temperatures up to something like 350 degrees, a very, very high temperature, something you wouldn't see on planet Earth when you walked outside, I'll put it that way. So I was a little bit surprised to see the tearing and the warping that occurred with this particular box when the temperature outside was only 90 degrees. We did see some expansion here, and that's part of why this ripped. And of course, these went through a couple of thunderstorms right after those 90-degree days. So fairly harsh conditions for just a couple of storage boxes for cards. As you can see, the cardboard box here was totally destroyed while it sat in the rain, the sun, and everything else, but there's no real surprise there. Something I did do in addition to just putting the boxes outside and just kind of testing them just by themselves, I did actually put cards in them, not a lot, and I used a couple of different TCGs in order to accomplish that. I used Pokemon, of course. I also did Magic the Gathering as well as Yu-Gi-Oh! So I know I'm kind of rambling a little bit here, but I would like to get into the results that were achieved with each box. So we'll start with the smaller box. This is our baseline reading box. As you can see, it's all kinds of dirty. We got all kinds of dirt and stuff splashed up in there. Kind of open it up. It is falling apart, as you might imagine. So be very careful to open it. Yeah, she's shot. So, woo. That's funny. I didn't think that would happen. So these are just empty top loaders. Before anybody gets too concerned, they're just empty top loaders. However, I did put a couple cards. I'll put them off to the side here. We'll take these top loaders and put them on the opposite side of the table. There we go. And part of what I did is the way we as collectors might store our cards. There are a couple different ways we might do that. We might use cheaper sleeves. We might use top loaders in addition to sleeves. There are a couple different ways that we collect and store. We might also do raw cards. So I did a little bit of each. So I'll get this out of the way because that box is totaled, and that's fine because it's a cheap box. I think that's like a 75-cent box, something like that. So here's where I was very surprised by the results that I got. So give me just a minute to collect this. There we go. So again, keep in mind these cards were set outside in 90-degree temperatures as well as through a couple of rainstorms. And this is kind of what happened to them. So when it comes to raw cards, and I've never really talked about this too much on my channel, but any card you collect, even my common cards, and if you guys saw my 5,000 count storage box, which is what I use for a majority of my commons and uncommons for my own Pokemon card collection, I sleeve everything, which sounds ridiculous, but in my mind, you can get the cheap sleeves for less than a penny a piece, so I don't care, and it's kind of fun for me. I like to sleeve things, if that makes sense. I'm a little obsessive, but that's just me. But anyway, I've never been a big fan of collecting cards and leaving them in a raw format. Way too susceptible to damage, and this will be, again, an extreme example, but an example nonetheless. So I had some Magic the Gathering cards that were left in here raw, as well as some Yu-Gi-Oh! And as you can see, the moisture, as well as the heat, really did a number to them. They are very stuck together. And they are warped, and there is a kind of a softness to them, like they've been saturated before, and they did get a chance to dry out. I did bring this box in a little bit early, but I gave it a chance to sit in the sun for a bit, but they are heavily warped, so I can try and hold that up and give you guys an example of just how warped that is. They're no longer as straight as they used to be. Oh yeah, definitely pretty beat up. Those are the Magic cards. I got one more Magic card here. Oof. You can hear it unstick itself, and you can see damage along the back there. And again, that's from moisture, and that's what happens when you leave cards subject to a lot of moisture. Obviously, that doesn't just have to be from a tremendous thunderstorm. That can occur over time as well. If you leave your cards, say, just in a room that is maybe just a little bit damp, if there's no way to keep that moisture out, that can, in fact, affect your cards as well. So it can be a very quick thunderstorm effect, or a very long-term kind of a slow moisture, a drip, if you will, into your collection. You have to be very careful and conscious of that could, in fact, cause damage to raw cards like that. So here's more of these standard Magic cards. Again, they're very warped. Take a look at some of these Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Same deal. A little warped as well. Actually held up a little bit better than the Magic cards, I thought. That's just me, my personal opinion. You see these, they're stuck to the Pokemon cards, but they did hold up a little bit better. And then the Pokemon cards, of course, same deal, very warped. And these were on the outside of the box. These were the ones that were subject to the most moisture. And they held up about as well as the Yu-Gi-Oh cards did, quite frankly. So they're not ideal. And then moving on to these, I figured anything I had sleeved would just be destroyed. Same deal, kind of deal. But oddly enough, and this just kind of re-emphasizes the point of why you should sleeve your cards, even if they're commons or whatever, these are pretty much untouched. The moisture was kept out of these despite them being left outside in the rain. These are good to go. To my best estimate, near mint to mint, same condition they were put in when I had them originally. So these are in phenomenal shape. Did a couple top loaders as well, and completely unscathed. I mean, really, truly, completely unscathed. So the cards and top loaders did well. The cards and sleeves, even the cheap sleeves, and the Ultra Pro sleeves that I used, just your standard B-flat Ultra Pro sleeves, not the Eclipses or anything like that, held up remarkably well. So something I learned from this experiment more so than anything else, even if you throw it in a cardboard box, as long as it's sleeved, it has a chance out there. So that's a pretty cool thing. And that's really why I'm happy I did this experiment. I didn't think I would get that result. I thought everything in there would be destroyed, and it really was just the raw cards. So moving on, let's talk about this bad boy, the Flex Seal box itself. This poor guy. So as you can see, plenty of damage to the outside of the box. You can see some warping along the outside. Again, we had lots of heat and rain, so it expanded and contracted probably fairly quickly within a matter of a few days. Probably part of what caused that damage was that rapid expansion and contraction. Something I would like to point out, while it was outside in extreme heat conditions, and like I had mentioned in the previous video, Flex Seal loves to bond to itself, and I guess just in 90-degree heat it does the same thing. As you can see, the inside of the lid here, which was triple coated by the way with Flex Seal, totally stuck to itself, stuck to the outside of the box, and just ripped itself apart once I got it inside and tried to open it up. The seams on the inside seem to have separated, despite them being triple lined there. Here's where most of the damage occurred, and I doubt I would ever do any kind of sealing along the seams of the actual boxes themselves along the outside. We go from doing pennies worth of sealing product, caulking product, into a couple quarters, and even I think that's a little ridiculous, but that's just me. I thought the whole thing was kind of fun to do anyway. But we can see that this is where most of the water got in. was right here along the seam, the top of the cardboard box, which caused some of that expansion as well. Got into that cardboard and just expanded it and produced all this cracking, and ultimately totaled the box. That's ultimately what we had happen. More surprise than anything, the caulking that I did along the sides of the box, which is supposed to be waterproof and is waterproof, that's what got damaged the most. It really got pulled away, and that was that. The Flex Seal couldn't hold it together. The caulking agent couldn't stay bonded to itself. I was very surprised by that, because all four corners of my lid are totally shot. So let's talk about the inside of the box. Here's the good thing about the inside of the box: 100% dry, and I mean totally unscathed from the elements, at least as best as I could see. No water got in here. You can see these seams along the box himself, because they were covered by the lid, and the lid took pretty much the whole beating. Seemed to do just fine. And really, when I ran my hands along the bottom of the box, where water pooled and collected along the bottom, no damage there as well. So very surprised by that. I wouldn't run it through another rainstorm by any means, but I was very surprised. So again, same concept and idea was done with this box as the control box was, as our standard cardboard box. So we'll take a quick look at these. And these were on the outside. Obviously, I picked them up as one unit. This definitely feels a little wet, a little soft, kind of like the other Magic cards were. Definitely damaged. There's water damage here, but there is no sticking that I had noticed. I can kind of go right through them, and they seem to be just fine. I only did a handful of each card, or each TCG, I should say. Further back into the box we go, and again, those were on the outside of the box, so they received the most damage, or at least in theory received the most damage. I get to my Yu-Gi-Oh cards here, 100% dry. They feel great, and these were unsleeved, obviously. I move to my Pokemon cards. They feel like standard Pokemon cards. They feel great. These, same deal. All the sleeve cards, identical to the cardboard box, the standard cardboard box. Same with the top loader cards. I mean, very surprised. Ridiculously surprised, actually. While I may have totaled my little experiment here, and it didn't hold up as well as I had hoped it would, it did in fact save a majority of the cards that were inside. And again, it just kind of reemphasizes the point that we need to keep cards sleeved as much as humanly possible. So that's my little experiment, guys. That's how it went. Again, I encourage comments and interactions below. I will be doing other reviews on other boxes, not DIY projects necessarily, but other boxes that are on the market currently that you can buy, and may subject them to not similar testing, but we may be doing some reviews regarding them. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I will have more content available soon. Thank you.